Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's Tuesday. Lee Gunner is here with me. Smash the living daylights out of the like button. Subscribe. Turn on that bell notification button as well. And I want to say a big thank you. It's a different show to this, but the Top 6 podcast, 6,000 downloads this morning alone. Astronomical numbers. So thank you all very, very much. I'm actually a little bit emotional that so many of you downloaded that on Spotify, considering we're independent. We're not backed by Spotify. We're not backed by a multimedia company behind us. To have 6,000 downloads in one morning is amazing. The link's in the live comment section if you want to listen to that later. So thank you. But Lee Gunner, my old chum, how are you, mate?
Very well, man. Very well. I've gone from being bright red last Tuesday to peeling everywhere and golden child again. So yeah, I'm all good, man. It's beautiful sunshine outside. Life's good, man.
I know. Life is quite nice right now. I'm starting to feel better with the health as well, which I'm not going to lie to you. I'm so happy about. I was kind of struggling. But by the way, Ricky, I lied about the downloads. It's actually 7,287. It's gone up. So thank you very, very much, people, for doing that. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, like I'm feeling the stomach's feeling a little bit better. Still got to have the camera down the throat though, so they can clear everything up. But it's getting a lot better on the new medication. And we've got loads to delve into today, people. We're talking about Arsenal. We're going to be getting Lee's reaction to that. We're going to be speaking about VVD versus the Vidic, the big debate. But I'm annoyed really because the newspapers have picked up on it, and I'm the one who first cooked Jamie Carragher, and all they're talking about is what Rio said and what Goldbridge said. I'm like, I was the one that destroyed him first. I'm so disheartened that I've not been mentioned in the Daily Mail. It would have been nice. Touching on a bit of VAR as well and Chelsea's troubles. That's all coming up on the show. Going to get heated today, I think. I think it's been one of the heated ones between me and Lee Gunner. I think that's going to happen today. But the first thing I wanted to ask you is this question here, and I'm going to put it up on the screen for the viewers as well. If Pep Guardiola does not win the Champions League with Man City, he knows his reputation will be diminished. His 2 triumphs with Barcelona feel like a small return for his genius. That is a claim from Oliver Holt at the Daily Mail, that if he doesn't win the Champions League with City, with the resources that he's got, his reputation will be damaged. What do you think of that, Lee?
He's won 2 Champions Leagues, right?
Yes.
How many's Fergie won?
2.
Is Fergie's reputation diminished and in the bin? No, it's not, is it? So he needed to rewrite that. He needs to Control-Alt-Delete it, start again. Yeah, go back to the drawing board and go, well, actually, hang on a minute. Yeah, Fergie only won 2. Pep's already won 2 and has still got probably another 10 years of management left in him. Maybe even longer, who knows? If he went on for as long as Fergie did, he's probably got 20 years left in him.
Yeah.
So what's he chatting about, man? Like, some of the stuff these people come out with is hilarious, isn't it? Yeah, the fact is, people love to start these little narratives like, oh, he's not done it without Messi. Who cares? Like, genuinely, who cares? Like, he's going to go down as one of the greatest managers ever. Yeah, based off of trophies won at multiple clubs as well, by the way, and different leagues, with or without Messi, with or without another Champions League. Like, the guy is an absolute brilliant manager. And it doesn't matter how much money Man City can throw it. If PSG won a Champions League, no. And they've got Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar in their front 3. So, like, is anyone saying, oh, yeah, well, that club's tarnished and diminished because they've been kicked out of the Champions League in the round of 16 for 2 years straight, or the quarterfinals, wherever it was. Nobody's crying about that, are they? It just makes me laugh. Like, Pep Guardiola, to even question him is crazy. It really is. Like, but it makes a good story to get people clicking it, and now we're here talking about it.
I look at it this way. To your first point on Fergie, there are some people that diminish him. They say for the amount of time he was a manager, only 2 wins isn't enough. And of course, he retired at 71. That's 19 years away for Pep Guardiola. So I understand the claim, but equally, he was only at a club capable of winning the Champions League for about 20 years. So I mean that from this. When he took over Man United, they weren't ready to win the Champions League. In fact, when he took over, we may have been banned from Europe as a country by then. United only become a proper top team early 90s, and he was there 20 years and he won 2, and I think that's pretty good. But people do try and diminish Fergie and say he should have won 3 or 4 more. And the irony in this, there's a lot of gooners that say Wenger would have won more if he wasn't going up against the great Fergie team. There's a lot of Liverpool fans that say we would have won more if we weren't going up against this great Pep Guardiola team. But nobody turns around and says, well, Fergie, if he didn't have to go up against those great Italians in the 90s and those were some of the greatest teams of all time, and if he didn't go up against in 2 finals the greatest club team of all time in Barcelona, he'd have won more. So people become big hypocrites on that. But I'm someone that doesn't, I don't think it damages in any capacity Pep Guardiola's legacy as a manager. Because when you actually look at it, only 3 managers have more than 2 Champions Leagues. Carlo Ancelotti with 4, and then there's Bob Paisley and Zidane with 3 apiece. Now, he's already a better manager than Zidane. He's already a better manager than Bob Paisley. In my opinion, Pep Guardiola is clear of those 2. I think he's clear, by the way, of Carlo Ancelotti. I think he's a better manager, although he doesn't have as many Champions Leagues.
No. Rewind. No, come on.
You don't think he's a better manager than Carlo Ancelotti?
No. I think he will become a better manager than him. But not for me. Mate, only manager to win in 5 different leagues, the top 5 leagues. Yeah, Ancelotti. 4 Champions Leagues.
There ain't no such thing as top 5 leagues, top 4, bro. Don't put France in this.
No, take the German league. Take the German league out. That's the worst of the lot.
Okay, right. Yeah, we're top 3 then.
So there's only 3 leagues then. Yeah, he's won in 3 leagues. But no, he's won in 5 different countries. Yeah, and he's for me, Ancelotti is right up there. You could even make a case to say he's the greatest. Look at what he's won. It's mad.
He's won everything, but he's won 24 trophies. Pep Guardiola's won 32. Fergie, 49.
I know the trophies Fergie's won are ridiculous. Let's just have that right, yeah. But there is a case to say that Ancelotti is better. Look at the trophies he's won. Look at the clubs and the countries he's done it in. Fergie, listen, I'm not knocking Fergie. For me, he is the greatest. But you could make a case for Ancelotti.
No, you can make a case. You can make a case, and you definitely can. But
I still think that for me, Sir Alex Ferguson's the greatest I've seen ever. Yeah, and I think Ancelotti is a second, and Pep's third, and then I'd put Jose in there as well.
The way I look, I hear you. The way I look at it is all these guys, by the way, we're nitpicking between the greatest. They are all Paisley, Ancelotti, Fergie.
They're all when you pick your favourite footballer of all time, you can make a case for Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Messi.
Exactly. And I think for me, I kind of go back to these situations and think to myself, well, when I think about the situation, but someone says here that Carlo Ancelotti dominated Fergie. He didn't dominate us when they were leading in the Champions League semi-final, and then we knocked him out and went on to complete a treble, did he?
Was that the one where King got sent off in?
Yeah, you know, I mean, he did. By the way, it was Fergie's Man United that reclaimed the Premier League off of Carlo Ancelotti that led to him being sacked. So he didn't dominate him then either. Just some quick history for you. Carlo Ancelotti was a great, and I think when we go back to Pep though, it doesn't diminish his career or his legacy. If he doesn't win the Champions League with Man City, though, there is an element of failure to him. And what I mean by that is what he's done is he's created a domestic powerhouse. And I think outside of Liverpool in the 70s and 80s, Man United in the 90s and the noughties, domestically, this is one of the greatest teams England's ever seen. I think it surpasses Wenger's teams in terms of, because barring going invincible, they've done everything and more that Wenger's teams did. They've done more than Chelsea's domestic teams have done. The only thing they haven't done is more than Man United and Liverpool's. They haven't yet. Points totals are the only thing they have, and I don't really count points totals because eras change and fitness is better. Squads are bigger and thicker. You can rotate more. It's easier to accumulate, I think, for the top teams now, more points than maybe 20, 30 years ago. But that's a debate for another day. They're on par with those sides. Where he fails, Pep, is not creating a European great side. City will not be considered European greats if they haven't won the European Cup, the Champions League. I don't think there are any teams that we consider to be one of the greatest in Europe of all time who dominated domestically and won in Europe. There's none that we put in that category who didn't win a Champions League. You look at Arsenal. If you guys in 2005 win that Champions League, those years, 2006, sorry, but those years of the Champions League final, doubles, invincibles, in that 4, 5, 6 year period, that becomes a European juggernaut of the team, becomes one of the greatest teams of all time. For me, they're one of the greatest domestic teams of all time, but they're not a great European side because they just didn't quite get over that line in terms of the Champions League. And I think he needs to win it to create a European dynasty with this team and Man City. Otherwise, it's still a brilliant achievement. But I think with the resources, nearly £1 billion spent on players to not lift the Champions League, there's just something missing from that. The same as Arsene Wenger. I think Arsene Wenger, domestic, great. But did he achieve true greatness at Arsenal?
We lost
Not
every
in my
final in
opinion.
Europe that he was in.
And that's the point. And that's not a dig, but that's for me, that's separating. And this is, again, Gooners will take it as a dig. City fans might take it as a dig. But I feel like what I'm doing is protecting true European greats. If they had to win those trophies, you can't crown someone on their level who didn't achieve it. You can't be an Olympic great having not won an Olympic gold. In my opinion, you can't be. You know, you could hold the world record, you could win the world championships, you could win the European championships, the indoor championships. You're not an Olympic legend, which is the ultimate for an athlete, if you don't win that Olympic gold or you don't have amazing Olympics. That for me, that those two things, that you can't do that. So when it comes to European greatness, you have to win it. So for this City team is one trophy away, in my opinion, from becoming one of the greatest European sides of all time. But they have to win it to get there. If they don't, they get knocked out by Bayern Munich.
Yeah, but you're saying one Champions League makes you one of the greatest European sides of all time.
Okay, so the reason I say that is this. I think once they've won that, and then you add up the fact that they've been to finals, semi-finals, dominated domestically, you look at the complete package over the last 5, 6, 7 years, they've been an amazing team, but they've got to get over that line. Fergie's last Man United team, we did a three-peat. We won 5. It did a three-peat and won 2 more Premier Leagues after that. It won multiple League Cups, and we won 1 Champions League and got into 3 finals. That's like
saying if Tottenham win the FA Cup next season, that they're one of the great cup teams in modern history. They got to a League Cup final. They've then won an FA Cup. They lost the semi-final to Chelsea.
I think so. Again, when I'm talking about European greatness, I look at European greatness as you're one of, if not the most dominant team in your domestic league, and then you went on to have a brilliant record in the Champions League. Now, I don't think you've got to win it 3 or 4 times, because Man United's treble-winning team is one of the greatest sides to grace Europe, in my opinion. But we only won it once. But you add up the whole body of work in that time period, it's a great team domestically and in Europe. And this City team, if they add a Champions League to everything else they've accomplished in the last 5, 6, 7 years, the Champions League finals, semi-finals, them winning it, you look at that as a complete body of work, and I think that's a great team. I think that's a great team.
That comment's great. So what do you call Klopp's Liverpool team then? Because they've been in 3 Champions League finals under him. They've been in the Europa League final under him.
Yes.
They've been in League Cup finals. They've won 1 and lost 1. I think they've been in FA Cup final and won 1. And they've won a league and missed out narrowly by 1 point or 2 points a couple of times. So what would you call his teams then? Is that one of the greatest teams we've seen in England?
No, because
based on that, what you were saying.
No, because they've won 3 domestic trophies in 7 years, where Pep Guardiola's won more league titles in that period than they've won trophies. So it's about the accumulation, the whole body of work.
But you're basing one European trophy as them now being a European great, but then you're adding in domestic trophies. That makes no sense.
So European greatness for me stems from being heavily dominant domestically, which they are, which Fergie's team in the 90s and noughties were, which Liverpool's teams in the 70s and 80s were, and you're adding Champions Leagues on top of that. Now, I think a lot of people would say the greatest English team of all time era was that Liverpool 70s and 80s, because they dominated England and they won 4 Champions Leagues. So I wouldn't put it above those teams. But if I look at their complete body of work domestically and in Europe together, if you add that cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake of a European Cup, the European Cup, I'm talking Champions League, then you become, I think they move into that great category with their points totals, their records, their domestic trebles, their general quality that they've shown in the Champions League, barring getting over that line. You add it all together. I'm not saying it's the greatest European team of all time, but I think they move into the great category. So I always say that about managers. To be, generally speaking, to be considered a great manager in my life, for me, you've got to have retained a league title and or won a Champions League or multiple Champions League. If you haven't done one of those 2 things or both of them, I don't even put you in the great category. Now, a number of managers are in that great category, but there are levels within that level. Does that make sense? Someone can Klopp has retained a league title in Germany and he's won a Champions League. So he's in that category. But he's not above Pep or Fergie or Jose within that. So I'm not saying that City are the greatest European team of all time, but I think they move into that great category.
How many Champions League finals has Pep got to? Because Klopp's been in 5.
He's won 2. I know he lost 1 with City. So I think
he lost 2 with Dortmund and he lost 2 with Liverpool. Yeah, Klopp, and then he's won 1. But Pep lost 1 last season, and then he's won 2. I think he's lost 2. I think he's been in 4. I think there was another one he's been in, right? 4. Yeah, it is 4. Yeah, he's been in 4. So based on what you're saying, right? Yeah, if Klopp wins 1 more European trophy, i.e. Champions League, and equals Pep, what you're saying is that he can't be considered a European great manager based on his body of work in Europe because of his domestic record compared to Klopp's. Is that what you're saying?
No. So there's great managers and great teams. So Klopp as a manager, if he wins another Champions League, that's 2 Champions Leagues, that's 3 or 4 league titles. I think he's in a great category. Within that, people will rank him wherever they want. But your team doesn't equal great just because you are. You know, this current Real Madrid team, it won a Champions League last year. Would you call it one of Europe's greatest ever sides at the moment?
Well, the Real Madrid team
right now, do you think it's one of the greatest European teams of all time?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You do.
Why wouldn't it be? How many Champions Leagues it won in the last 10 years?
Well,
5 years, and some of them players are still there from when they first won it.
That's a fair point. To be fair, they've still got that core group.
The wrong team to
but I was utilizing the manager because the level they're at. So if Ancelotti rejoins PSG now, is this PSG team one of the greatest European teams of all time?
Well, no, because PSG ain't won in Europe. They'll be seen as one of the domestically good teams.
Let me just get to the point.
But they've not won in Europe.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean the manager isn't great. The manager's still great, right?
Yeah, so my point is, understand what you're saying. You've confused yourself here.
No, I haven't. Let me make the point. So just because I think Klopp's a great manager doesn't mean his team are great. Because Klopp,
that's a fair point.
Because part of Klopp's greatness was created before he even became the Liverpool manager. Because a manager's greatness is looked at his whole career. When I talk about a team's greatness, I'm talking about where a core group of players over a 5 to 7 year period and what they've achieved.
Okay, which is why. No, so you're saying that's for team or manager over a 5-7 year period?
Team. I said that's what I said.
So on that basis, then in 7 years at Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp has got to be considered one of the best managers, and that has got to be considered as one of the best teams we've seen. It's been in 3 Champions League finals, winning 1. It's been in the Europa League final. It's been in 2 League Cup finals. It's been in an FA Cup final, and it's won a league title and been in the title race, getting over 90 points, 3 different occasions. And you're saying in a 5-7 year period, that's how you understand greatness. Well, is that not greatness then?
Bob Paisley won more in one season than Klopp.
And we're not talking about Bob Paisley because we just admitted 10 minutes ago. Just said 10 minutes ago that football now you can amass points a lot easier than what you could then. Yeah. Right. But why can't every team get 90 points, Terry? How comes Man City can get 100 and they get 99, or he gets 97 and they get 98?
I'll answer your question. So for me, Liverpool's body of work is 4 trophies. I wouldn't consider this Liverpool team one of the greatest teams in British or European football history. They're a very good team, but they didn't win. The winners are the great ones. I don't think this Liverpool team is better than the Liverpool teams of the 70s and 80s. Do you?
No, I don't. But at the same time, you just contradicted yourself. Because a minute ago, you said it's about what you win. But when you're using that argument a minute ago with Pep, you were saying about getting to finals. You were saying it's about what you do getting to finals. So is it finals or winning?
I didn't. I said it's the complete body of work. So Pep Guardiola's team have won 4 as of right now. Say they win the Champions League this year, nothing else. That'll be 4 Premier Leagues. That'll be a domestic treble, 4 League Cups. It'll be a Champions League. Plus, you then look at the second places and the finals and the complete body of work. With Liverpool, it's 1 league, 1 Champions League, 2 domestic trophies. Yes, they've lost lots of finals and come second, but they haven't achieved the victories and the trophies that City have. We don't look at all the teams that came second to Liverpool in the 70s and 80s and say they were also great teams. Who talks about them? Who talks about the teams that will come second and third in the
I'm
Fergie
sure
era?
Everton fans talk about how great Everton were back then,
We
mate.
don't, but no, the football,
No, because we've moved away from because football fans now are more snobby about it and don't even remember
Lee,
how good Everton were.
So down, let's just bring it back for a second. Let's bring it back because I don't want to go off topic, right? I'm just saying, so in your opinion, where do you rank Liverpool's team in terms of greatness? If you're ranking them against other great
Liverpool team now,
yeah, that you've just spoken about.
All jokes aside and all banter aside, they're one of the best Premier League teams we've seen in that 5-year period.
In that period,
to be in the title race 4 or 5 years in a row, competing with a team.
Let's slow it down. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, where do you rank them in terms? Just think Premier League era. Do you rank them above the Invincible era? Do you rank them above the treble winners? Jose's Chelsea team. Where do you rank them in terms of greatness?
I don't think that. Listen, I don't see the Invincibles as Arsenal's best Premier League winning team anyway. It's only won one trophy that season. So
where do you rank this Liverpool team then?
It's probably, I don't know, 4th, 5th best. But it's still in the conversation, Terry, based on how many points they've got in seasons they've not won.
So I hear you on that. So you're saying 4th or 5th best. Would you consider any of the Arsenal teams European greats? None. Chelsea. So you put this Liverpool team as European greats above all the Arsenal teams in the Premier League era?
We haven't won in Europe since 94, 95.
And that's fair. That's fair. But I'm asking a question.
We've only won 2 trophies ever in Europe.
I'm trying to ascertain your stance here. I don't think this Liverpool team with 1 league title, 1 Champions League, and 2 domestic trophies to be a great side domestically or European wise. You think they are, right?
Sorry, domestically they've won 3 trophies.
So do you answer the question? I just want you to answer the question. That's why
you're not letting me speak.
Are they just yes or no? Are they a great team or not?
If you look at trophies won, they have won a Champions League, an FA Cup, a League Cup, and the Premier League. That's 4 trophies in 7-year period. You dismissed Fergie's first 5 years or 10 years or whatever, because we weren't ready to win the Champions League. But on that basis, then you have to dismiss Klopp's first 18 months. Then, right. So now it's only 4 or 5 years.
I don't have an issue.
In that 5 years, they've won the biggest competition.
Yep.
Yeah, Champions League. They won a cup double last season, and they've won a Premier League. So, in your logic and what you've said all the way through this, on that basis, they are one of the best teams we've seen. To be in a title race all of them seasons.
I don't think they are because
to lose 2 Champions League finals in that time.
They're not though, because this City team has won more. Man United between 06...
I've not said City are not in the conversation. City are better than them.
Yeah, that's cool. But this is my point. City have won more than them. They're better. Both Man United's Champions League winning teams in the Premier League won more than them. They're better. Both of Liverpool's teams in the 70s and 80s are better. Chelsea's teams that won back-to-back league titles, went on to win a Champions League, were better. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams that are better than them.
You're talking about Premier League era. Why are you bringing back the 70s?
Because I'm talking about. No, that wasn't what I said at the beginning. I turned around and said at the beginning that if Pep wins the Champions League, that with all the other achievements they've had in the last 6 to 7 years, makes them one of the Europeans' great teams. And I don't think this Liverpool team is one of Europeans' great teams. I don't even think it's in the top 5 English teams of all time. So it isn't a European great for me. No.
Mate, I don't see either. Listen, Liverpool have been in 3 Champions League finals. Yeah, you can't take the first season he was there. Yeah, because it was 8 months and he weren't in it. He was in Europa League, but he got them straight to the final of the Europa League and he got them to a League Cup. They lost the final to Sevilla, Unai Emery, I think, and he lost the League Cup final. That was his first half season or whatever you want to call it, yeah?
I don't understand what that's got to do with anything.
Because you're talking about you can't be a great in Europe unless you've got a great record in domestic football.
Yes.
That makes no sense to me. Because you could, I'll give you another example here, Terry, right? Arsenal qualified for the Champions League 20 years straight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we had won one of them, right? If we had won one of them, say the last 10 years of that, forget the first 10, where we were picking up titles and doubles and invincibles. If we had won the Champions League, right, just once, are you saying that based off of what Wenger had achieved before that, Arsenal were a European great?
No.
That makes no sense.
That isn't what I said. But if let's go back to this point. Let's say between 96, let's go from 1998, where you won a double, until 2006. In that period, you won 3 league titles. You did 2 doubles.
Yeah.
And an invincibles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you had a Champions League in that period as well, that would have been one of Europeans' greatest ever sides because you dominated you were one of the most dominant teams in your country with 3 league titles, 2 doubles, an Invincibles, and a Champions League. That body of work collectively is far superior to what Liverpool have done now if you'd have achieved that. My point is this.
So you said from 96 to 06, is that what you said?
I said from 98 until 06.
Yeah.
That's like an 8 year period. Yes.
And in that time, we won three league titles.
Yeah, 3 league titles, 2 FA Cups, and we're adding in what would have been a Champions League.
We actually won more FA Cups than that.
4 then, 3 or 4 then. Yeah, right, you won in 2005 as well. So my point is, that domestic period for you was stronger than Liverpool's now, right?
Yeah, but Terry, I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is
I'm not arguing either. I'm not. See,
let the chat decide.
The chat are on your side, and I get it. My point wasn't that this.
But that's a surprise.
Lee, listen. I'm not arguing that this Liverpool team isn't good. My point is there are multiple domestic teams in England in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years that have won more than this Liverpool team. So I don't put them as a great side because there's multiple that are better. This City team, domestically in the last 7 or 8 years, is on par with any other great domestic team that England's ever had. You start adding a Champions League glory to that, it moves them into a European great category as well because of domestic dominance plus winning in Europe. And then you look at their whole body of work. I've never seen before teams, all the losses become part of a dynasty if their winning element isn't even in the top 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in their country's history. That's the point, bro.
No, but Terry, you're making out a European great is off of winning 1 Champions League.
No, I'm not. That isn't what I said. It's about the
trophies to add it all together to make them look like a European
every great European team. If you just Google Europeans' great teams, most of them have between 1 and 2 Champions League victories, and you have a handful like the recent Real Madrid team that have 3. It's between 1 and 2. But when you read about their body of work, you read about what they dominated on domestically, what they won domestically, how they transferred that into Europe in that same period. That's my point. They're all the same. Domestic and European dominance collectively makes you a European great. That's always been the case in football. That's why Liverpool's 2 teams of the 70s and 80s are considered great. Equally, it's why Villa and Nottingham Forest teams who won in the Champions League but didn't dominate in Europe are not looked at in the same light as that Liverpool team. They're just not. They're not celebrated in the same way because their dominance wasn't universal across both areas they played in.
Terry.
For me, I'm not going to change that now.
Are you telling me Porto, when Jose Mourinho was manager, are a European great because they won the Champions League, but they were winning league titles, they were winning their domestic cups and all of that and that as well,
Great point. They're not because they weren't doing it in one of the best leagues in the world. But if they were doing that, if Porto were a Spanish team,
now it changes. Okay.
Of course it does. Because the quality of the league you play in, me and you both know this because you don't recognize goals in the.
So that makes Jose's winning of the Champions League even more of an unbelievable feat. Yes. Because he was doing it when he shouldn't be doing it.
It does.
So that makes them a European great.
No, it doesn't.
Him a European great and the team a European great.
It makes that team brilliant and it makes what Jose did amazing because he was winning things with a team that was unexpected to. But are you someone do you consider goals in the Bundesliga as valuable as goals in the Premier League?
Well, to the teams in that league. I said this on the show. Let me explain what I want to say, right?
Go on.
People look at the French league, which, again, the Bundesliga, French league, Portuguese, you can put them all in the same bracket, whatever. The fact and reality is, right, you'll always have one team that's normally more special than the rest. But then after that, it's a much of a muchness. And I used this on the stream earlier. The French league. We all know that PSG are by far and gone the best team out there. But literally any team can finish second. Lens are second. Marseille could finish second.
I understand.
So when you take that and transfer that to Portugal, Porto, Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, Braga. Yeah, you telling me that's not all much of a muchness? So
listen. So my point is this though. You sat here regularly and say that the Bundesliga is shit. You say it's crap.
It is.
Yeah, I get that. So is the Portuguese league better or worse than the Bundesliga?
Better.
Okay, you think it's better then. But how do you rate it compared to La Liga and the Premier League?
Well, I don't think it's as good. But in fact, actually, technical ability, Portuguese league's flying away from the Premier League.
Fine. And that's absolutely fair.
In terms of spectacle,
my point of view is this. Some people may argue that Porto team wasn't great. From my perspective, what they did in the Champions League was absolutely astronomical. But for me, when you're winning league titles in the most difficult domestic leagues, Spain, Italy in its heyday as an example, because there's no Italian team in the last 15 years that's considered a great. One, they've not been winning Champions Leagues, and equally their leagues.
So why is that considered a top 5 league then?
It's not. It just is, isn't it? It's still considered better than.
That's a very dismissive way to say it. Oh, it just is. Yeah.
Because it's still better than it. The Italian league is still better than most other leagues. It's still definitely got better quality in it overall than
the Portuguese league's better than the Italian league. It's better than the German league.
Well. Better than the Italian leagues.
The Portuguese league, mate, that's one of the most underrated leagues.
And that's fine. And I don't want to go off topic, and that's fine for now. But obviously, we're talking about 2004. Sorry, the Italian league was stronger than the Portuguese league. Would you say back then?
Yeah.
But that's
back then it was, yeah.
But that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about now, because I'm not arguing that teams from Portugal or Italy are great. My view on the greater side, it's when you're dominating domestically and you're a brilliant and dominant team in Europe over a 5, 6, 7 year period. And yes, what Porto did was brilliant, but I don't put that Porto team on par with the great Italian sides of the 80s and 90s, the great Premier League teams that were in those noughties period. I don't put it on par with the great Real Madrid and Barcelona teams of the previous decade, because they were not only killing it in Europe and consistently in semi-finals, finals, and winning it, but they were also winning a league title that was far more difficult to achieve. That's just my view on it as an example.
Hold on, Terry, very quickly. Sorry to cut you off, because I know we're going to move on there. When you're only going up against one team in Spain, which is Barcelona, or the other team is Madrid. Yeah, and I know Valencia had a little bit of a flirt with the title and won it once, I think, with Rafa Benitez. But it's mainly just them two clubs. Now you go to a Portuguese league, Braga, Porto, Sporting, yeah, Benfica. Are you telling me that's an easier league to win then? Even back then?
That's a very good question. I think you could argue that it's harder, but I don't think the quality is overall as high.
The quality of the whole league, yeah, probably not as good as the Spanish league, yeah. And the teams at the very top of the Spanish league were Galacticos and Barcelona, like just a whole team full of top players. But surely it's more of an achievement if it's harder to win the league, because you're going up against more teams to win it than it is going up against one.
That's a fair point. So based on that logic, are we saying like the Scottish league, maybe not Scottish league, Celtic dominate, but are we saying the Portuguese leagues and the Austrian leagues are actually better leagues than the Premier League and the La Liga then? Are we saying they're better leagues then? Because I don't think they are.
If it's harder to win, no, we're not saying it's better in terms of quality, Terry. We're saying it's harder to win, so it's more of an achievement to win it. I get where you're coming from. That sounds almost, and it's not a dig at you. That's almost like it sounds like oxymoronic. It's a less difficult league, but it's harder to win. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, I kind of get your point to a degree, but even in Portugal, I don't know the answer to this. Like all time, I mean, it's literally Benfica are the most successful team.
It's literally owned, but even in their league, like Benfica have won it 37 times, Porto 30 times, and Sporting Lisbon have won it 19. It's still only 3 teams in their league that win it as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's still only a 3-horse race. Often only a 2-horse race.
No, that's overall since the history of the league started, Terry. If you actually go back to the period you were talking about and go and have a look at the teams that were winning it, yeah, I guarantee it's I bet there was 4 or 5 different teams.
No, I mean, so look,
Porto and Benfica.
Hang on, bro. There's only been 2 other teams in the history of their league that have won it outside of Benfica, Porto, and Sporting. Boa Vista won it in 2001, so just before that.
So period. that was in that period we were talking about then.
Yeah, so they won it then, and the other team, the last, and then I can't pronounce his name, but they won it in 1946 as an example. But Sporting Lisbon, they won it in 2001. The last time they won it was in the year 2002, so they waited 20 years. It's Porto and Benfica, and it's like it fluctuates between them two. So it's a 2-horse race in Portugal as well, I think.
Well, it's not really, because it's Porto.
And Braga, by the way, someone says Braga have never won it. Braga were runners up once in 2010. They're a nothing team in that country. Well, they never won it. And they've been runners up once. Like this is the thing. Most leagues,
they're the Tottenham of that league.
I don't know this is a fact. I'm putting this out there. I guarantee if you go look at most leagues in Europe, it's 1 or 2 teams that win the majority of them. Like, you look at the Ukraine, it's always fucking Kiev, bruv. Like, or the Shakhtar, sorry. It's always one of those 2.
No, I totally get that. What I'm saying is when it's only Real Madrid, Real Madrid or Barcelona, yeah, Nobody else is getting close to him. It was only recently that Atleti got involved in the last 10, 15 years or whatever that Simeone's been there, yeah? Other than that, Valencia won it once. Like, who else was winning it? Nobody else was really in the conversation, were they?
I don't watch it, so I don't know. But let's have a little look.
My point is that the league, in terms of quality, is less. These leagues are less in terms of actual spectator watching it. Wow, this is entertainment. But if you've got 3 or 4 teams vying for a title, look at the Bundesliga this season. That's why is it so exciting this season? Because there's 4 teams in the title race.
I agree. This is brilliant. So
whoever wins it this season has to work harder for it.
In terms of the breakdown, Real Madrid have won 35 league titles, Barcelona 27, Atletico 11, Bilbao have won 8, Valencia 6, Sociedad 2. So there's still 2 that dominate, but far more teams have won it in Spain than have won it in Portugal. And I bet Germany, we know, who's won the most there. But Super Chat here says, Terry, would you consider Liverpool's 05 team a great team? For me, yes. No, they're not a great team. They didn't win a league title. They didn't win they won the Champions League, which was brilliant. But they're not a great team for me. For me, greatness, I look at it and I stand by it. Huge dominance or an air of superiority domestically. Man United 99 team, look what they won before and after. Liverpool in the 70s and 80s. Chelsea, this City team. You've got to have that domestic dominance, and then you've got to add big European trophies on top of that to be considered a great team for me. So Liverpool haven't had a great team a great side since the 80s. They've had an absolutely brilliant football team on the pitch with what Jurgen Klopp has achieved, but he's the second best in this era to Pep Guardiola. They are the great team that come through. If we start saying, and this is the question for Liverpool fans, and Lee, maybe you can answer this. If Liverpool's team deserve a higher level of greatness because they've been up against this brilliant City team, then does Fergie's team that only won 1 Champions League deserve to be registered as high or higher than Bob Paisley's 3 Champions League team because he went up against the greatest club team in all time in Barcelona, so therefore didn't win 3 Champions Leagues? So unless if we're going to use the logic for Liverpool, the only reason they didn't achieve my level of greatness.
To be a European great, you have to dominate Europe. Real Madrid are a European great.
I think
they dominate Europe. They're also a domestic great as well. So you put them both together, they're then a great. Yeah. When you look at Liverpool,
but that's the thing. Sorry. I just want to stay on that point. I don't want to go off it. Real Madrid that won those, that did the 3-peat and 4. They weren't. They were. That's such a paradox and great debate because they weren't dominating domestically. Barca were at that time. So that's what makes that conversation so nuanced and brilliant. My point here, I don't want to go off topic. I want to get back to the question. Sorry, Lee. So I'm not listen, I'm quite up for this. I'm glad we got onto this. Thank you, Marcy. I'm very happy to crown this Liverpool team great because they come second to that City team lots. But how much more does that elevate Fergie's career? Because that means he has to be given 2 more Champions League crowns by proxy because he went up against the greatest club team of all time in Barcelona. Most people would universally say it's the greatest team ever. Do we elevate him now above Bob Paisley's 3 Champions Leagues because he went up against better teams? Are we going to keep that logic?
Why don't we just say Liverpool were a great team in that 5-year period?
They were a great team in that period. They're not a great.
Possibly could have won more. They weren't a European great because only won one Champions League, and they weren't a domestic great because only won 3 trophies. But they were a great team. Yeah, they were great to watch. And they were great to watch.
They were brilliant to watch, and there's no doubt about that. I'm not denying. But this is what you get. No, you can't do it. But that's my point here. If Liverpool's achieve, if we can't focus on Liverpool's achieve, what people are missing. Liverpool will say you're underplaying Liverpool's achievements because of who they went up against. But people will say Fergie's European record was really poor, though. He only won 2. Bob Paisley won 3 in less time. But what about the teams that were great that stopped Fergie from winning them? Why don't we use that logic for him? Why are we only using
one more question before we move this topic on? So I know you want to move it on. Would you class George Graham in his time at Arsenal? Yeah, would you class that team that we had then? Yeah, that won 2 titles. Yeah, one in Europe against a great Parma team. Yeah, so done it in Europe, Cup Winners' Cup, admittedly. Yeah, but won a cup double and 2. And do you see where I'm going with this, Tel? Yeah, was that a great team? Was that a great? Was that because for me?
What did he win? So he won the
league at Anfield in '89. We then won it again in '91. Lost 1 game that season, and that was with 3 of our back 4 out injured. and we had Michael Thomas at centre back. We lost 2-1 that day. If that back four was playing, he would have been invincible. If buts and maybes. But 2 league titles, a cup double, league and cup double against Sheffield Wednesday in 93. Yeah, and a Cup Winners' Cup and a League Cup in 87.
That's that. Yeah, so I don't talk about that team because it isn't a team that I am overly aware of. I was very young when they were winning a lot of those trophies. I'm going to answer. Let me finish. I'm getting around to this. The reason I know about the Paisley team in the 70s is because they're a famous team, and I've studied them and read about them and everything else, and I know who they are, right? Because they're you know as well as I do. You know, sometimes you know more about your greatest rivals than you do about other teams, right? So I've studied Liverpool to that degree. But when I look at that team, I think that George Graham team should be in contention for being a great, being at the very least a great domestic team. And I'll tell you as to why. Because when that team was brilliant and dominating domestically, they couldn't go and play in the European Cup because English teams were banned. And I've said this for a long time. Arsenal fans and Everton fans especially should be fuming at the clubs and the people that led to that European-wide ban for English clubs, because your great teams of the 80s and the early 90s didn't have the opportunity to win a European Cup and create that greatness. So I agree with you. They should definitely be in that conversation. They absolutely should be in that conversation. The reason why they're not, though, is because a lot of Arsenal fans, they lord up Wenger's teams of being much better and much greater. So then what happens is, if the Paisley teams and the Fergie teams and the Pep teams are all seen as bigger and greater than Wenger's teams, the George Graham teams get forgotten about because they're not even being elevated by your own fan base. Does that make sense? So I think now that you brought that to my attention,
because most of our fan base started supporting us after 2004, mate, and they don't even give a shit about before 2000, well, before Wenger came, because they think Wenger founded the club, Terry.
Yeah, I hear you. The greatest Liverpool team didn't play in Europe, Terry. Yeah, again, but we know why that happened. And that's why that period, there's a nuanced conversation in that area, because domestic teams, we were banned from going into Europe. But someone says studied. Yes, when you sit there and read about a football team or you watch documentaries on a football team, that is literally the definition of studying, my friend. And you should study teams and understand them more. But yeah, that George Graham team is definitely there. Terry, legends do or did legendary stuff. Even if it's a single feat, which will be remembered for decades, just not dominant, but even now. Listen, I understand you that legends can be created in that way. However, I'm going to respect the Liverpool team of the 70s and 80s. I'm going to respect the Busby Babes. I'm going to respect the great Man United teams. I'm going to respect the great Chelsea teams in the middle of the noughties. I'm going to respect this brilliant Pep Guardiola team now. They've all achieved legendary status as well and done it more regularly. And this is the thing. That comeback final from Liverpool was astounding. But again, you've got to be very careful here. If that comeback final at Istanbul elevates that one major trophy in 27 years to being as valuable as what City have achieved in this time, then does Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's great last-minute comeback, the most dramatic end to a Champions League final ever, does that mean that Man United have more than 3 Champions Leagues and now 3 are worth as much as Liverpool's 5? You've got to be very careful with this logic. This is what happens every time. Fan bases always want to elevate one of their achievements to mean more significance than someone that's won more trophies. But they don't want to accumulate it to another team's achievements. So that's why I don't buy into it, because you're never going to turn around and go, well, because of the way Man United did a treble, winning a Champions League and a treble is bigger than any achievement any team in England's make. So therefore, that value of that Champions League is worth 2 or 3. That's bullshit. It's not. It's worth 1, right? And it counts as 1. We can't over-index victories just because of how they're won. You have to look at the body of work, in my opinion. You have to. You have to. Do you think that's fair, Lee? Like, I'm not digging. It's like you going invincible doesn't count for 2 Premier League trophies. Count for 1 in a special way.
But at the same time, you're saying about that comeback in Istanbul. Yeah, well, that Liverpool team won a Champions League. Pep ain't won a Champions League at Man City, is he?
So I'll throw it back as a question. So you think
a European great? We're going back to what you said earlier. You're basing a European great off of 1 trophy in Europe, because if you add in everything they've done domestically, it might make it a lot better. For me, that don't work like that.
So if that Liverpool team, they got to a Champions League final a season or 2 later.
Two later.
if they were also winning Premier Leagues and domestic trophies in that time, Premier Leagues especially, then they'd have been on course to be one. The reason why I use the domestic dominance is because you're winning a Premier League is harder than winning a Champions League on some occasions. It's 38 games of consistency. When you're winning a major, difficult, hard league on a regular basis, you're already one of the best teams in Europe, whether you win the European Cup or not. When you solidify it and you get crowned it, it's there. But we are going to move on just in the interest of time because it's going to go on for a while. We're going to do the super chats on it first. Make sure you're smashing the like button, by the way.
Go swallow it quickly, mate. Yeah.
All right, mate. I will do these super chats while this is being done. Big up Lee for respect he always had for Unai Emery, is what Mark says here. If City lose the Premier League and FA Cup and win the Champions League, are they a great? Yes, because you don't, for me, I don't judge a team based on one singular season. I look at a body of work over a period of time when that core has been together. Luke here says Deportivo won the Liga in 2000 and Valencia won it in 02 and 04 and got to 2 Champions League finals in a row, and we finished 4th. Thank you for the education on that, my friend. In the early, I remember when Valencia and Deportivo were serious teams. Liverpool's 80s were fugazi. European teams were getting dominated consistently by AM teams. Man United 08 is the Go English team, as you won the World Club Cup as well. That's a fair point. But when you look at the overall achievements of those teams, the amount of leagues, domestic trophies, European success, it's far more comparable than a team that's just won one league and won a couple of domestic trophies. Forest and Clough. I mean, again, retaining a Champions League makes that team a European great side. I think when you retain a Champions League 2 years running, you have to be considered one of the greats. To retain it, you have
Derby to a Champions League or European Cup final.
Yeah. And Clough is a great manager, 110%. You can't get away from that.
But then, hold on. But then what you're saying, is domestically, how many trophies did he win domestically?
I don't know. I'll have to look.
I don't know either. But compared to
we'll have to look. But let's have a little look here at Cloughy and his honours, right? So he won 3 league titles, 4 FA Cups. I don't know what full members' cups were, to be fair. They're on there. 2 European trophies back-to-back, the Super Cup. So, yeah, he won 3 league titles as well. So, pretty decent. He didn't retain a league title, though, but he did retain a Champions League. And that's also in an era where it was straight knockouts as well. No group stages, straight knockouts. That was serious. Terry, you can't be dominant in Europe if you only have one UEFA Champions League Cup to show for it. It's like the Baltimore Ravens going to multiple AFC championships and then get one Super Bowl. I don't know how to compare it to American sports because your sports ain't like.
He's basically saying you can't be dominant in Europe if you've only won the Champions League once.
He says he has one European and League Cup to show for it. I don't know what.
No, one European Champions League Cup.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, I disagree. I didn't say the most dominant team in Europe. I said they've been a dominant team in Europe. If you've got to multiple semis and finals and won one, you've been a dominant team over that period. You've been one of the best teams. You have been. But if you accumulate that with what you've achieved in one of the best leagues in Europe and you've won the European Cup, I think you go into the great category. Where you ranking that is very, very different conversation to be had all together. I wanted to ask you, Lee. I don't know if we're going to get into the other debates. We'll do this one quickly, actually. Viewers, you can let us know as well. Virgil van Dijk or Vidic, which of the two had the greatest impact on their team when they arrived, in your opinion?
Vidic for me. I like Van Dijk. I think he's been superb, but to even compare him to Vidic, I thought was crazy. I can't lie. Yeah, no, I've seen that. Somebody sent me your tweet. Yeah, where Carragher quote tweeted each other. It was quite funny. Yeah, it was kind of, you're a bit of celebrity now these days, isn't you, Terry?
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, Vidic. Yeah, like both fantastic defenders. Like Van Dijk for me has been the best centre back in the world for years until he fell off this season big time. Yeah, but over the time he's been at Liverpool, he has had a massive impact on that team. Like him and Alisson. Like when they got rid of Coutinho and signed them two, that's elevated them massively. Yeah, and it gave them that stable foundation defensively when they've got a proper goalkeeper, a proper centre back, and whoever plays next to Van Dijk does play better. Yeah, the only thing I will say here is everyone's going to come out with the argument, oh yeah, but Vidic had Rio next to him. Yeah, this guy's had all sorts of crap next to him. Yeah, that's great. That's cool. Yeah, we're talking about individual player. And for me, Vidic is better. Yeah, and I've seen Vidic's whole career at Man United. Yeah, and I've seen Van Dijk's whole career at Liverpool. So I got just my opinion. People might disagree with it, but for me, Vidic all day long.
I think Van Dijk was the best centre back in the world for about 3 years. I think Van Dijk is a absolutely sensational football player. It really is. And what I've tried to do in the last 24 hours is at no point attack him or slag him off, because that's not how you win. As soon as you attack your opponent and try and belittle their brilliant achievements, you've lost the debate straight away. It's a bit like I had an argument with someone the other day that if 5 guys jump one guy and beat him up, the 5 guys that jumped the one guy lost, because you jump. If groups of people jump in on someone, you're pussies and you've lost the fight by default. Where I grew up, if me and my boys jump someone, the next Monday morning at school, be like, oh, you guys are it would have been the default, you lost, right? And I look at that in a debate when you start slagging people off that are really good. We know how good Van Dijk was, so there's no need to criticize his brilliance. However, what Liverpool did yesterday, what Carragher did yesterday, or what people have done in the debate today that we were having, is they're happy that they continually reframe the conversation to try and elevate it to number one. So what what Jamie Carragher said was, no centre-back in the Premier League era has ever had VVD's impact on the team. So how do you measure impact on a team? Where you were when you came in to what you go on to achieve, right? He didn't mention he didn't say no centre-back in Premier League history had the passing ability of this player, or the speed of this player, or the presence of this player, or the leadership ability of this player. He said impact on the team. So I pointed out that in 7 years, Vidic won 5 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, 3 League Cups, World Cup Championship. And the argument that Torres did him up bad, listen, he had
Torres
3
did everyone bad.
He scored 3 times in 15 games against Vidic. Rashford scored, I think, 6 goals in 13 games against Van Dijk. But it's a narrative that was created at the time to make Vidic look bad. And then what we started to see was, you can't tell me that Vidic was a better football player than
Because they changed the goalposts.
Just like the argument earlier, where people will say, but this Liverpool team has to be a great team because it was only a great Pep team that stopped them winning more. But no one uses that when it comes to Fergie's record in Europe. They pick and choose when to move goalposts and when to elevate.
Mate, most of these people, Terry, that are sitting there saying Vidic have never seen, that are saying Van Dijk, have never seen Vidic's whole career. Yeah, they've probably just seen the back end of it when they were just getting into football as a teenager or a 10-year-old or whatever, but they've seen Van Dijk's whole career. Yeah, it's like Messi and Maradona, for example. I will never put Maradona above Messi, and I see the back end of Maradona's career, right? But I've seen the whole of Messi's. I know Maradona is one of the greats, and I can appreciate that. And my old man has told me he's better than Messi ever will be. Yeah, but for me, Messi's better. Yeah, so I get it. It's if you ain't seen the whole career of a player, you're never going to rate him as highly as the player you've seen.
No, and I get that completely, which is why I say to people, you have to look at what people achieved. And we're getting into an era in football now where winning trophies, and we had it kind of in our previous debate, where winning trophies is like people are finding ways to circumvent the idea of winning trophies. And me and you both agree, the ultimate aim of elite level sports is what you win. And I know that we like to judge players individually, but it's only been the last couple of years that we started doing that overly. You shouldn't be judging players individually. You should be judging them on the impact they have on teams and what them and their teams achieve. Now, if you're comparing a top class player in a much lesser team, a much smaller club, who have no chance of actually winning the trophies, he looks world class, but he's at Brighton, then fair enough. But over the course of their career, that guy's
talking about Welbeck.
Yeah, Welbeck and Salah. But so for me, it's like, you have to compare what they went on to achieve. And they tried to reframe the debate yesterday because they got cooked, because impact means what you win. And Vidic killed him. And equally, a Liverpool fan DM'd me saying, look, he goes, I'd always sign Vidic. I'd always sign Van Dijk over Vidic, knowing what we know now. And I'm like, but you wouldn't. Because Vidic from 2006 to 2013, by the way, also had a cruciate knee ligament injury and came back the following year and won the Premier League. This guy was consistent that whole time. Your guy has been brilliant, but he's faded away now. So now he might come back. And in 2 or 3 years' time, Van Dijk might come back to the peak of his powers and Liverpool go and win 2 or 3 more Premier Leagues. Then the debate changes because the information and the facts change. But right now, most Liverpool fans are saying this guy looks like he's done. So based on that logic, you would always sign Vidic because at his peak, Van Dijk was better. But you're gonna get a more consistent and very high level Vidic for 7, 8 years. That's much better than someone who's the best in the world for 3 and then falls off, rather than someone who is amazing and one of the best in the world for 8 years. I'd always pick. That's why the debate versus peak versus longevity is a nonsense for me. Because who do you think at their peak best was better? Cristiano Ronaldo or R9?
R9.
But if you know what you know now about both their careers, and you could sign one at 18 and have him until they retire, who would you sign? Honestly.
R9.
But you get my point, right?
I do get your point. Somebody who can go for 17 years or somebody who's dusted by 23. Yeah, because he was battered by 23.
Yeah,
that's why I think he was so great.
Yeah,
because he was finished.
Oh, mate,
the injuries had done him by
R9 at his peak, I think there's an argument to say the greatest footballer of all time. But when it comes to real football, if you're doing a hindsight prediction or a hindsight debate, which this is, you look back and go, well, we know what happened to those individuals. We know the trajectory. At 18 years of age, a lot of people in the world were picking out of Messi, Ronaldo, and Rooney. Rooney, by foreign pundits and ex-pros as well, was being picked as the one that was going to be the better of the 3. Now we know what we know.
This is why I don't listen to him.
Yeah. But you know what's funny, bro? The thing is, if you went back now, right? Those 3, we went back in the time machine and bought them all now. You go, which of the 3 are you going to buy? No one would pick Rooney. They'd pick the other 2. No, if you only had a choice of one, because we now know which ones went on to be the best and who had the longer careers. So with the hindsight being with both Van Dijk and Vidic, we know who you'd all pick. You'd all pick Vidic because his level was only slightly below Van Dijk at his peak, but he went on for longer, he achieved more, and he's a better leader. It's as simple and as straightforward for that, mate. It's as simple and straightforward as that for me.
And neither of them are as good as Tony Adams or John Terry, by the way. You think I'm joking? Neither of them are better than John Terry or Tony Adams. Best 2 centre-backs in the league ever.
And then, but no, because I think Sol Campbell's better than them, and then I think Rio's better than him.
Sol Campbell was brilliant. Let's not get it twisted here.
Nah,
Rio's up there as well. Rio was just a role choice to watch, mate. But Tony Adams and John Terry, best 2 centre-backs you've ever seen.
Do you know who we're forgetting, though? We are forgetting one. No, I do think this guy was the best.
Carvalho.
No, Yap Stam.
Yeah, Yap Stam was decent as well. Didn't he strangle Fergie? I'm sure he strangled Fergie. No.
I don't know.
He strangled Fergie. You know
what's funny about it as well, right? Do you know what's really funny about it? Is they tried bringing out all these but man, this is the thing with Stam was here 3 years. 3 years, treble and a 3-peat. Okay. One was in team of the year every single year and was voted Europe's best defender in every season he was at Man United. Like, this guy's 3 years were the elite of the elite of the elite. But there we go. Super chat here says Lee always acting like everyone else. Sorry, I can't read. Lee is always acting like everyone else, but he are teenagers and he's the only one who has watched older football in every argument. Ridiculous.
Mate, you support Spurs. What are you chatting about?
You're from
Norway and you've got come on you Spurs in your app, bro. Evaluate your footballing career going forward, like life.
Who should he support? Vikings Stefana?
No, FC Mulder.
No, my cousin played for Vikings. He was my cousin. I've always told this story. He was going to Vikings.
Out of all the clubs he could have supported, being Norwegian, you chose Spurs. Mate, come on.
Mould Winmore.
Did Mulder his first team actually go and play Spurs in pre-season or something? Is that why you picked Spurs? Like,
I don't know. This guy here says Vidic was Romero on steroids. VVD is the best.
Nah. They were both brilliant, but Vidic all day long for me.
This is the question back to earlier. Wenger's 7 years was better than Klopp's 7 years.
Yeah, he won more.
I agree. The greatness. Yeah, I agree. Lee, I win 1-0. I'm joking. No,
I don't even know. 601.
VVD's 3-year peak was better than any central defender but he's not on my top 8 central defenders of all time.
I disagree with that. 3-year peak's better than any other central defender. No way. Yeah, John Terry and Tony Adams, mate. Yeah, and you can throw Sol Campbell in. Yep, Stam could be in there. Vidic is above him anyway. Yeah, and this is what, like, when people say world class and peak and stuff like that, I always worry about like it's not a dig at him. He's, like, obviously sound, yeah, but like when you say world class, Terry, we were watching the world class players back in the 90s. Yeah, company's a shout as well, by the way, from that fella in the chat. Yeah, but we weren't sitting there back in the day saying, oh yeah, like this defender's world class. We were just appreciating our good players well. And there was none of this world class tag being bandied around then. Yeah, but it's only when you come now, people want to highlight and go, well, that player's world class. In his peak, he's better than him. And it's like, mate, none of these players can literally tie the laces of them centre halves in Italy in the 90s, mate. Like, real talk. As good as Van Dijk is, he ain't getting in any of them Italian teams in the 90s. Neither's Vidic. Yeah,
no, those guys were next level. GR says Vidic got sent off 3 times on the bounce versus Torres at Liverpool. He did.
I remember that as well.
He did, and it was a bad time, right? And you can look at that and go, look how many mistakes Van Dijk's made this season, though. So, and I saw a compilation of all of Vidic's mistakes. The thing is, you could go and find Maldini, who is arguably the greatest defender in the history of football, arguably. You could make a compilation of his mistakes. You could find the things that he did wrong. Look how good Sergio Ramos is. How many times he's been sent off? Does that make him not one of the best centre backs in the history of Spanish and maybe European football? Does it fuck? It's a nonsense. We're talking about.
Maldini was one of the best centre backs and one of the best left backs in the world.
Let's not reframe the argument. Him getting sent off 5 times doesn't matter. The claim made was who had the better impact. So in spite of getting sent off 3 times, he still won more, achieved more, and lasted longer. The impact was bigger. Thank you for the super chat, but the sending off don't change the fact we don't reframe arguments here. That 89 to 95 George Graham team was great. They knocked off the great 80s Liverpool team. Have the best defense of all time as well. Yeah, mate, listen, it's definitely one of the great sides. It definitely is. Again, I've been taught about it today, and I'd always change my mind on things.
I thought you would have known Arsenal history, Terry, being an Arsenal fan.
Oi! Vidic remains the only defender to win the player of the. I mean, the guy won player of the Premier League twice, like legit. And also another little record. I know him and Vidic, Rio did this together, but they've got the longest clean sheet drought as a centre back pairing in the history, I think, of Europe, world football, a little world record. So there's loads of little records, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just looking at who won the most. That is how you judge the best. Who won the most? When you're comparing elite level players. So I don't want to hear, does that mean Luke Chadwick's better than Gerrard? No, that's a weak man's argument, and it's banned now on the terrace. You get banned. You get banned from the terrace for throwing that in as an argument because only.
But I thought everyone's opinions were allowed, Terry.
Other than my dad always said, if you hang around with fools too long, you are one. You are what you hang around with. And I know the terrace community are not dickheads, so please don't be one. Klopp or Wenger, full career, who's is better? For me, Klopp because of the Dortmund career. Rank Robin Bow and fucking hell, that's a long.
Hang on, hold on. He said because of his Dortmund career. Didn't he have him in relegation zone and then finish about 6th in Bundesliga? Come on, do me a favour. You can do better than that, George. Or Jorge.
I put Klopp above Wenger though because he won a Champions League.
No.
That's what you're now going to see is the Liverpool fans that saying you won earlier are now going to say I'm winning because I'm saying
no. Hold on. Champions League, fair enough, cool. That's in the bank, fantastic. Champions League finals that he lost, cool, fantastic. But he's never retained a title. Well, neither's Wenger. Hey! Right, but neither's Wenger. I just said that. But he's won less titles than Wenger. He's won less cups than Wenger. He's won less overall than Wenger.
Klopp retained the Bundesliga against Bayern Munich.
Huh?
Hey!
Did he retain it?
Yeah.
So he's won 3. So he's won 3 titles.
How many he won in total? He's won. Yeah, he did back-to-back league titles of the Bundesliga.
Yeah, well, Wenger's won more than 3 league titles. So he won one in Japan.
Maybe. And Japan! I'll raise you a Champions League.
Didn't he win one in France as well, Wenger? He won one somewhere else, didn't he? I think he won. Didn't he win the league with Monaco and nearly get him relegated?
I don't know.
Or was that nonce? Maybe he didn't win in France.
Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know how many trophies Wenger's won, but I know he's won more than Klopp.
He won Division 1. It's like winning the championship.
Let's still a trophy tell. Right. How many trophies, honestly?
So Wenger has won 3 league titles, 7 FA Cups. Are we going to count Community Shields?
No. Which means we can't class Super Cups in their leagues either, because that's basically
okay. So he won 7 FA Cups, 3 league titles, nothing in Europe. Klopp, 3 league titles, 1 Pokal, a League Cup and FA Cup. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's basically same amount of league titles. But then what Klopp has is a World Club Championship, a Champions League. He's got a League Cup, an FA Cup, and a Pokal. And then that's it. Where Wenger's, so basically it's 3 league titles each, 5 cup trophies for Klopp, including a World Club Championship and Champions League. Wenger's got 7 FA Cups.
Wenger's killed. Yes,
oh, it's got to be Klopp, innit? He's got that Champions League.
Well, he's won less trophies.
But the Champions League is big, man.
Yeah, the Champions League's massive, hence why we've never won it, because we don't take it serious.
I'm gonna go with, again, Liverpool fans will love me now. I'm gonna go Jurgen Klopp he's been more successful than Wenger.
No, but again, you have to. But again, if we're gonna go back to the Virgil van Dijk and Vidic, what they did for the club and where they elevated a club from, then Wenger's clear. Because we were playing sexy football. We did doubles. We did invincible. Blah blah blah.
It's a good debate. It's a good debate.
The only double Klopp has done
impact
for Liverpool is the cup double.
But Klopp came in and he broke the stranglehold in German football by winning back-to-back league titles against Bayern Munich, and then ended a 30-year drought for Liverpool. That's a massive impact.
Yeah, that is massive. But at the same time, I'm backing Wenger here. Yeah, this don't happen often because I still don't like that man.
Are you really?
I still don't like him. Yeah. But I'm backing him. He's a better manager.
There we go.
For Arsenal than Klopp has been at Liverpool.
There we go.
Trophies win.
Premier.
But that guy was trying to throw in Dortmund, and this is the thing, by the way. Very quickly, he snuck in Dortmund like nobody had noticed. Yeah, we were only talking about Arsene Wenger at Arsenal.
Oh, if we're talking Premier League era, it was that Premier League era. I didn't say. It didn't specify. If we're talking Premier League era, I'll go with Wenger. He's won 3 Premier Leagues always. Yeah.
Even if we're going overall, he's won more trophies, so he wins.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing Premier League, I'll go with Wenger. We're doing overall.
What's the aim of Elite Sport, Tel?
To win the Champions League. That's what you did to me with the R9 one. Viewers, please hit the like button for us. Make sure you're subscribed as well. The other part of that was rank. I lost it now. I unstarred it by mistake. But the other part of it was rank Neymar, Bale, and somebody else.
It was Neymar, Bale, and Robin. I am Robin.
So who do you put as number 1 of those 3?
Bale.
Then I'd go Robin. Then I'd go
Neymar.
Yeah, I agree.
People are going to cry about it and go, "Oh, you don't want Neymar." No, come on, really? Bale.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Best British import overseas, mate. Yeah, bar none. Yeah, what a player.
I agree. I can't believe people said VVD was better than Maldini when Maldini started his career at 18 and was at the highest level. Listen, he was still at the highest level at 40. Yes. It's crazy. Like, they did do that about him. Maldini number 1, Nesta number 2, Stam 3, Baresi 4, 5 Ramos. Yeah, I'd throw. Listen, I can't believe. No. This is ridiculous. Number 2, Lisandro Martinez, got to be there, bruv. Get him in. Yeah,
well, I think there's an honourable mention for Pascal Segan as well. He's invincible.
Yeah, he's invincible. A good one. Listen, those top. That's your top 5. You might add something into it, but you can't say it's a shit. It's a very good top 5.
Stam ain't in there for me.
Stam was mad good, man.
He was great, but nah.
Saliba, fuck it out.
Leave Saliba alone, mate.
Arsenal.
Yes.
Did they blow it, Lee?
Did we blow it? No, because I still think we'll win it, Tel.
Blow the game.
Clip that, KJ.
KJ, leave it out. We've got the agenda to run. Did you blow it at the weekend?
Yeah, big time. It's on the manager. Like it was at Old Trafford. Yeah, people are going to go, here we go. See, I'm not going to be winning now, am I? They're all going to turn on me now. But to leave Zinchenko on, and people will want to sit here and say, well, it's great to say that after the event. I was saying it at half time, get him off. all the way through my half time with Ola, get him off. I said, in fact, I was saying all the way, I even said it last week to you. I said, I played Tierney in that game. Yeah, and listen, we started off great. We got the goal. We should have scored after the first minute. Martinelli skinned Trent. We knew that was going to happen. Like, he cooks him every time he plays him. And we get the goal. And then Jesus scores. He missed a sitter before that. It was like, then Robertson had a chance before we scored the second. Salah, that ball diagonal to Salah was on all game. And then Granit Xhaka, it should have been a free kick, by the way. I thought the ref was horrendous. Should have been a free kick. Konate pushed Xhaka over. Xhaka see the size of Konate and thought, I'll pick on Trent instead. And then 40 seconds later, after we've all switched off, they score. Yeah, Zinchenko nowhere to be seen at the back stick. He's supposed to be the left back, but our centre back was there. Where was he? And then the substitutions were a shambles. Like we've watched a manager who's been in a title race pretty much every year. Well, 5 out of 7 years, or 4 out of 6, or whatever. Yeah, make 3 substitutions before we made one. What's that all about? Like, what are you doing? You're winning the game 2-1. You're getting absolutely peppered there in the second half, and we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper in our own box. And in the end, the liability that can't defend, which I've been saying all season can't defend. Listen, Zinchenko's brilliant with his little short passes going forward. He can't defend, and he's a left back, apparently. Yeah, he's a left back. We then take off Martin Odegaard, who ghosted, by the way. Who knew? Big away game ghosts. Yeah, and people are saying he's the best centre midfielder in the league. Do me a favour. Yeah, he ain't. Yeah, but because he jumped up against Sporting Lisbon when we won a throw-in and got the crowd up, that's him, free pass. He loves the club. Look at the passion. So he gets a free pass. I've not seen anyone mention how poor he was, by the way. But the liability defender that we have got nutmegged by the worst right back in the league. Unbelievable. And then Ben White, who's, for me, been absolutely superb this season, don't even know that Firmino's there. Like, what is going on here? Yeah, and then as soon as Zinchenko gets nutmegged, he brings Tierney on. What are you doing, mate? You bring on Kivior for his second league appearance ever for Arsenal after playing his first for 4 minutes against Palace. You bring him on at Anfield. Well, didn't we sign Jorginho? Yeah, with the experience of winning major honours. Wasn't it for this game? Wasn't it for games like this, to see games out, no? Slow it down and get your passing range and all that. What happened to Fabio Vieira? I thought he was the next Bernardo Silva. Why was he on the bench? Why didn't he come on for Odegaard? Yeah, what happened to Smith Rowe? Why didn't he come on? Like, it made no sense. His substitutions were shambolic. The way he managed that game from when we went 2-0 was a joke. And he did that at Old Trafford, Terry, yeah? All right, and listen, we've got a whole week now to play. I think we play Saturday against West Ham. Yeah, if we don't go out there against West Ham and get a result, it's done. Yeah, but I do think we'll beat them. I do think we'll beat Southampton. They only play Leicester before we play them. So we could be 9 clear with them having 2 in hand. If we get out of Man City with a draw, I don't think they're catching us, even with them games in hand.
Well, this is the thing about it.
But we have to win the next 2.
No, I agree. You have to win the next 2 because also you go into that game with a 9-point lead. There is a psychological element that's harder for Man City because games in hand are not points. There's pressure in them. And if you would have grabbed something at the Etihad and go, say you had 9 points clear, you grab the draw and you maintain that 9 points. Yes, they could win those 2 games in hand, but any slip up and that gap just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger the whole time. So it's going to be an amazing couple of weeks in terms of the title race now because of this draw. But I think what's interesting is the reaction people have towards you and a few others. I was a little bit annoyed to see Gooners go, that's it, it's done, it's over. I thought that was too premature, far too premature in my opinion. Equally, I've seen people like you attacked for criticising what I think are clear mistakes.
Oh, but you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to with Arsenal fans, Terry. It has to be sparkles and unicorns every day. Yeah, and then when it all goes tits up, they'll just go, nobody expected us to win it anyway.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's the bit that I kind of looked at and thought, come on now, like, there were mistakes from the team and the manager. I think the subs were wrong. As you say, you weren't aggressive enough in the second half. The best way to have stopped the kind of onslaught from Liverpool would have been to have laid a glove on them, attack, put some pressure. There was a couple of times you countered and you look up and there was nobody in the counter attack with the person with the ball. And those those are mistakes. And I think I almost guarantee when the team are watching the DVD and the film back the next day or today, maybe even if they got a day off yesterday, I don't know. But I guarantee you the coaching staff are saying that. And I almost
that chance from Martinelli where we had that 3-on-1 in the 96th minute, mate. Yeah,
Oh.
Martinelli can't pass the ball properly. Yeah, based on that alone, right? And this is going to sound harsh to people. I don't care. Based on that alone, drop him for the next game. But you can't pass a 20-yard straight pass. Drop
Martinelli, he got a goal and assist, bruv.
Don't care. You're 3-on-1. All you got to do is have a bit of composure, and Saka runs the goalkeeper and scores. And you overhit it by 10 yards. It's a 20-yard pass, straight pass. Drop him. Put Trossard in next game. And this is where the elite mentality has to kick in now, right? Because people are sitting there, and I've seen people already saying, oh, well, if we finish second, hold on, mate, we're still 6 points clear. What do you mean if we finish second? Why are you even thinking of second? But this is the loser mindset that's infiltrated this fan base for a decade or more. Yeah, if we finish, no. And another thing I want to say here, Terry, right? Because I'm getting the hump with people saying this. Nobody expected it. All these pundits at the start of the season, if you go back to your own predictions at the start, who cares? One of my mates is a Villa fan. Start of the season, he wanted Europa League or Conference League. That was his expectation as a fan, right? Gerrard gets him 12 points after 13 games or 13 after 12 or whatever. His expectation changed based on what was happening. Yeah. And he was like, just stay in the league. Just stay in the league. Now they get Unai Emery in. They're sixth. So now his expectations have changed to go, let's get back in Europa or go Europa League again. But with Arsenal, oh no, what you say, there's nobody expected us, so we can't finish and do it. And you're not allowed to say it because you're not allowed to say expectations can change. Because nobody expected us to win it, if we don't win it, we can all say that. If we do win it, they'll be relentless and be more mouthy than they are anyway. But if we don't win it, they'll come out with that one. Yeah. Terry, on the 12th of January this year, we were 8 points clear of Man City. They had no games in hand. So at that point, no Arsenal fan thought, actually, we've got to go and win it now then. Like, if that's the case, then what is going on here?
I think for me, like I said, I spoke about it on a video I did this morning. This kind of notion of, after this game, a lot of people some fans fran baby out with the bathwater. It's almost like, right, let's get it in now that we ain't going to win it, and therefore we won't be bantered if we don't. And then there are others that are like it's fine, but equally you shouldn't criticize what we do. And I'm like, there's the right answers in the middle. I think Arsenal fans should be frustrated at throwing a 2-0 lead away. They should criticize the mistakes of the manager at the weekend. They should criticize the mistakes of the players, even the ones who played well. But you don't have to go to the extremities of kicking off and throwing in the towel and fighting each other. Because I'll give you an example at my club, and we're not in the title race. But when we got battered by Newcastle, I criticized the manager's first team he started with. I ripped into the substitutions he made. I berated the performances of particular individuals. But that was it. It was for that isolated game. These were the mistakes. These were the issues from within this game. What I find fan bases now are struggling to do is isolate games and react to that match, review that game, as opposed to how they feel about a player in their entirety. So
why do you think that is?
I tell you why that. I 100% tell you why that is, because of the mob mentality that now exists around on supporting fans online. I know for a fact that some gooners will sit there, some throw their toys out the pram because they like to overreact. And I watched what you said after the game, watched your whole match review. You didn't change your stance on the fact that you still think you're going to win the league. You just criticized the individual game. And I think that's the right
every week.
And that's the right thing to do. I think there's a lot of people that are like, I don't want to say anything negative because groups of people online might come for me. I might get labeled Lee Gunner Jr. I might, some of the females that do it, oh, you're Leanne Gunner. And it's almost like, but that's ridiculous.
How is he, by the way?
Yeah, all good, all good. You have to criticize the things that went wrong. You can also show that you're angry not to win a football match, but that not mean that you're angry with your football team overall. And that's the bit for me that really stood out at the weekend from a fan perspective. It was like, there's one guy that came on the show and was like, I'm just so annoyed we didn't win the game. And the amount of gooners that came from him saying, how dare you slag the team off? He's like, he hasn't slagged the team off. He just said he's angry that you didn't win.
But this is the loser mindset that's infiltrated and infested this fan base for too long, Terry. Right? And this is where I get the ump of it. Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're 2-0 up in a football match and you're Arsenal Football Club and you are top of the table, I don't care who you're playing. If you're 2-0 up, you have to win the game. You have to win it.
I agree.
Yeah, you have to win it. And if people want to sit there and say, Oh, you're so negative. Well, I'll tell you what is negative, mate. Going 2-0 up at Anfield, not making a sub until the 80th minute. Yeah, and then letting the player who can't defend and has been a liability in that game from the get-go, by the way, because Salah was on that right wing, our left, the whole game unmarked. Literally unmarked. Go and watch the first half back, even when we were battering them. Every time, 70-yard ball, he had acres of space to run into. Yeah. Why didn't anyone say to Zinchenko, or Zinchenko uses experience, keep hearing experience, why didn't he think, actually, I better not start gallivanting over to right wing? Yeah, and I better not go into number 10 every night. Because if we get a turnover of the ball here, I'm out of position. Now Gabriel Magalhaes got to go over. Now Holding's got. Where was he on that goal, that Salah goal? Because it was Gabriel slide tackling at the back stick, who, by the way, I thought was our best defender by a country mile in that game. Yeah, and I thought the goalkeeper was man of the match. Yeah, but having said that, on the flip side, Konate was their best player. So 2 defenders for me and the goalkeeper were best players on the pitch.
Yeah.
But where was Zinchenko for that goal? He is a left back. Yeah, he is a left back, Terry. He was not even in the picture for that Salah goal. Where is he? Where was he? He's a left back.
I hear you. I'm just putting the highlights on here now. On my,
I think maybe he was at centre back. I don't know. But why is Gabriel Magalhaes the last man? Why? Because he's trotting back from centre mid and attacking mid. Yeah, and when you're 2-0 up at Anfield,
Zinchenko was ended up in a midfield role. He's in a centre back position.
There you go, centre back. Why? Because he was so far up the pitch. As soon as that ball went, and why was he so far up the pitch? Because when it had come off a free kick, they had the free kick where Trent and Xhaka both got booked.
Yeah.
And why is he that far forward? Why ain't he at left back? But who's calling this out, Terry?
Well,
I've said all season, he's been a brilliant part of why we are top of the table. He's been fantastic going forward. But he's also a massive liability when we ain't got the ball.
Well, that's about getting things right and getting the balance. I want to go to some of these super chats here. The first one says, love Zinny, love his graft and bottle, but he ain't a left back. We should have started Tierney at Anfield or at 65 minutes, brought him on, take off Xhaka, who was losing his rag, and move Zinny into midfield. I mean, that would have been a great Cliff. I said
that at half time with Ola. I said, get Xhaka out of there. I said, he's just been booked. I said, Jesus has had to pull him away. I said, and I don't know what Jesus said to him. It was probably along the lines of, listen, we're 2-0 up at Anfield. We're going for a title. Shut up. Yeah. And then 40 seconds later, nobody switched back on again. Bang, they score. Yeah. So I said at half time, get him off. Yeah. I said, worst way is keep him on for 5-10 minutes, Xhaka. Then get him off. Then put Zinny in midfield and put Tierney at left back. We had Tierney warming up from about, I think, 79, 80 minutes. He was warming up. Why did it take until the 88th minute to equalise for Liverpool for us to bring him on? Why do you need to warm up for 8 minutes, mate? Obviously, you're already thinking, get Tierney on the pitch. What took you nearly 10 minutes to get him on? Nobody calls this out, Terry. And then when you do call it out, you're negative. No, I wanted to win the game, mate. And when I'm 2-0, my team is 2-0 up at Anfield. I expect to win that game. I don't care how good they are.
And I don't think it's wrong to criticise, I guess, individual games. This year says, do the fans manage or own a club? Okay, I'll come back to that a little bit later, slightly off subject. We will win it on 93 points, wins and 2 draws. Is what
I do think we'll still win the league. I do. I genuinely still think we'll win it.
I hear you on that. This year says winning at Anfield is next to impossible. We get
Rubbish.
1 point. It's good for us. Title race wouldn't have been all over if we'd have won it. So it's not over with this.
Loser mentality, mate. Brighton went there and got 3-3 draw with them. That's Brighton. We are Arsenal, top of the table, when they are 8th. What are you chatting about? Burnley beat them last season there. Didn't they get slapped 6 straight games at home? Last season or season before?
Leeds beat them this year.
Leeds beat them there. What are we talking about here? About, oh, it's nearly impossible to win. Real Madrid went there and slapped them 5 from 2-0 down. Like, come on. Real talk. Come on, mate. You've got to do better than that.
This here says Lee is right. Arteta saw that for some crazy reason. The team stopped attacking. The mistake was was to not include Tierney in the substitutes.
And that's my point, right? When you're taking Odegaard off, who I thought should have gone off, mate, there's a little clip doing the rounds, and the person who put that clip out on Twitter has got dogs abuse on it because, like you said, siege mentality, right? From all these people that try and claim that they're the most positive football fan ever. Why? It's weird. But there's 2 clips there. There was a 60-40 challenge where the ball's gone up in the air and it's Odegaard and Curtis Jones. And Odegaard ducks and moves himself back. And all the people are sitting there going, oh, that's because he knew he couldn't win the header because he's shorter. What are you chatting about, mate? Does Lisandro Martinez think I can't go up against Haaland because he's taller than me? What is this mentality? Then there was another one where Odegaard's got 70-30 chance of winning the ball against Trent and he pulls his leg back out of it. Absolute bottle job. Yeah? You can't be having passengers at Anfield or any football game. Why he took him off, cool. I get why he took him off. But to bring Kivior on, when you've got Fabio Vieira on the bench that we spent 35 million on, everyone keeps telling me is the next Bernardo Silva. You brought Jorginho to shore up football matches, right, with all of his wealth of experience, and you've got Smith Rowe on the bench, who's dubbed one of our greatest young prospects. So why was it a 19-20 million pound signing like comes on that's played 4 minutes of Premier League football? That made no sense. And we did this last season, when we brought Nuno Tavares on, and he threw the game that season.
Well, I think this is the thing, right? I said to you before, criticizing a manager's decisions in one game isn't. I mean, you're actually not. The ironic thing is, a lot of the TPFs that would attack you for criticizing him are the same people going, I think we'll lose the league now. At least you're saying, I still think we're going to win it, which is just an interesting turnaround here. This super chat says, when we lose or draw equals the manager. When we win, it's the players.
What are you chatting about? In fact, it's the other way around, mate. Yeah, when we lose or draw, it's, it don't matter. It's Anfield. Yeah, or the players let him down. When we win, Arteta masterclass. I think you've got that back to front, mate. Yeah, I think you've got that back to front because, listen, we lost at Old Trafford this season and we have only lost 3 games this season, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, 2 of them are right on him. The Man City game, you could even put on him as well. The 3 losses, you could actually stick all 3 of them on that manager.
Who's your other loss against?
We've lost 3, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. Everton. Yeah, I get.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Everton.
There
you go. There's another one.
Everton was more the players for me. They just weren't on it that day.
No, the players weren't on it that day. But at the same time, what made that manager decide to let Martin Odegaard mark Tarkowski off a corner? What genius does that?
I get you.
I'm sorry, but Terry, when you sit back and analyse them 4 losses, he plays Tomiyasu in that game over Ben White against Man City. Why? Why did you put Tomiyasu in? Ben White's on the bench. He's been flying. Like weird decisions, man.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I think you're right to criticize them. This here says for me the game was gone once we switched from 3-5-2 to 4-4-2 before any subs. I do think Zinchenko could have done better, but it happens to the best player sometimes. Just the attacker's brilliance can't dwell onto West Ham.
I agree with that to a certain extent, yeah. But listen, that's Zinchenko. As good as he is going forward, he's equally as bad defensively. And we have seen it time and time again. Go back to the Bournemouth game where they scored after 9 seconds. Where was he? They've just kicked off. Where was he? Like, mate, it makes no sense. This geezer, right, and because he cried on the bench and he heard waterworks and all that, sympathy vote, that don't wash with me, mate. Yeah, that might work with thousands of other people, but bringing on the waterworks, it's like when you have an argument with a bird and that, yeah? And then they start crying. What, you think you're going to get sympathy? No. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Yeah, that's it. You can cry all you like. Yeah, but at least he cares. Now he's absolved of any, like, people should be fuming he got nutmegged by Trent. Instead, all I've seen is, what a nice fella he is. He donates to charity. And somebody put this tweet out. I want to read this because this is triggering me. I can't lie. So troll football have put out absolutely no one, and then Zinchenko 4 different pictures of him crying, right? This Arsenal account, I won't read his out, I won't embarrass him, right? Has put Zinchenko has no Twitter, no tattoos so he can donate blood, no fancy cars, lived in student accommodation whilst earning 120 grand a week, donates a quarter of his wages to charity. Well, of course he does, it's a tax write-off. And brought a second-hand Vauxhall Corsa from his mum and flies Ryanair. How could you hate him? What's that got to do with him getting nuts by Trent? What's that got to do with like, real talk? What has that got to do with him getting nutmegged by Trent and not being at the back stick for the Salah goal?
Yeah.
Like, these people are weird, mate.
I I want to put this super chat up here. It says Arsenal and Arteta was beaten by the occasion more than the opposition. Missed a trick with subs is what Martin says here.
I disagree with that, man. Like slightly. Listen, I know you come in here all the time. You're in my chat as well, mate. Good lad. But like, I don't think we played the and missed a trick because of the occasion. I think it was just his lack of managing a game out. Mate, you go 2-0 up at Anfield. Why are you still acting like you're the team losing? Like, it makes no sense. I'm screaming at the TV, and I'm watching it. I'm going, right, batter them 4 or 5 now. But this is me as a fan, Terry. Yeah? As a manager that has worked with one of the greats, that we've already established is one of the greats, but he needs a Champions League, obviously, right, with City. Right? Otherwise, Ollie Holt's going to be fuming. Yeah, but we've established how good Pep is. He was working with Pep for years. He's played under Arsene Wenger and he's played football at Glasgow Rangers, Arsenal and PSG. He's played and Everton, some big clubs. And you're 2-0 up at Anfield. He should know better than anyone that when you're 2-0 up at Anfield, shut up shop. And instead, we were acting like we were the losing team.
Yeah.
And in the second half, he went too defensive. It was like there was no middle ground.
No, I hear you completely on that. This says here, we played Tommy left back at home at Liverpool for a reason. We should have had Tierney out there, is what this guy says. This is a beer money for the only Man United fan I respect. Come on, you gooners. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it.
There ain't no United fans here, mate. We're both gooners.
Rambo was the only one on the pitch. Arteta was asleep. His tactics failed us. I'm still in shock. Lee, wrong man management.
Your Kiwior.
The Kiwi ain't ripe. Nick's got
Big
to say.
up like Gemini, man. Yeah, you're right, mate. His man management at times does stink, Terry, right? Right, and I've said this on my stream earlier. If we don't win that title, heads need to roll. Whether that's him or Edu, somebody needs to go, right? Because like, and you'll sit there and people in the chat go, oh well, no, but we're overachieving. I've seen people like my TikTok. I looked at the comments the other day, and people are going, yeah, but even if we finish second, we've overachieved. What are you talking about? 8 points clear in January with no games in Anfield City.
The thing is, though, Lee, right? This is where I draw the line at it all. You can be angry at not winning the league without saying the season was a complete waste of time. I'm not looking forward to next year. And I'll give you an example to that. When you guys came second in 97, when you came second, I think you came second in 97. When you came second in 1998-9, when you came second to Chelsea, when you come second before, because you were a brilliant team back then, it's annoying not to win the league, but you're like, we go again next year. That's the mentality the Gooners have got to get back to. I'm not putting this on you. There are 2 tribes I still see. I'm Fran Baby out with the bathwater. I'm going to go mental if we lose, and I want the whole world changed. Or the others that just were like, well, I'm not going to say anything bad because it was still a good season. There's where all the normal people live in the middle. The middle is, I'm fuming we didn't win the league, but listen, we'll come back and get you next year. That's how a normal person's brain should work.
All well and good, and I totally get that, Terry, right? But let's look at it logically right now. Thin squad, which is why we threw 3 cup competitions away. And every time we got knocked out of a cup competition, doesn't matter, we've got bigger fish to fry, mate. How many times was that said in your chat, my chat, and everyone else's all over social? We've got bigger fish to fry. Terry, you probably, if you had £1 for every time you see that phrase put out there, yeah, you wouldn't be doing YouTube anymore.
These man mentioned fish more than Jesus. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. Who, by the way, Gabriel Jesus, whenever he's scored in a game, still hasn't lost a Premier League game, which is kind of mad, right? But my point is, when we come to January and we are 8 points ahead of City and they've got no games in hand at that point and we're 8 clear, why are we keeping good relations with Brighton? Oh, we kept good relationship with Brighton. I couldn't care less about Brighton. We want your player. We're having him. I don't care if it costs 300 million. It ain't my money. Yeah, go and get me that player. And then you go and get Jorginho. This fan base all get giddy about it and go, well, he's got experience. But then the manager then doesn't use him in a game where we need experience. That makes no sense. We're going by Trossard, fantastic player. Absolutely gassed we signed him. Yeah, I've wanted him for years. Top player. But we go and sign this Polish lad. Well, that was a weird signing. That's more of a summer signing. Why are you buying this lad in January? That was a weird sign. We've done 20 million on him. We signed Fabio Vieira for 35. So add that to the 20 for this Kivior guy. There's 50 odd million. Yeah. Now add that to the money we bid for Caicedo. We could have brought him. And we might, it's all if buts and maybes, but we might actually have won the game. We might actually be winning the league. We might still win the league. But I'll tell you something, Terry, if we don't win the league, yeah, and I said this many weeks and months ago, if we lose that league by 6 points, sack Arteta. Because we were 8 points clear, that's a 14-point swing, and that ain't good enough. If we miss out on the title by goal difference, less than 6 points, cool, but sack Edu either way. Yeah, because we didn't do what was required in January to go, and everyone will sit there and say that's harsh. I don't care if it's harsh. If you want to be the best, you have to act like the best, and we did not act like the best in January. Yeah, with the signing of Kivior and the signing of Jorginho. If you want to get Jorginho in, cool, but then throw him in at Anfield when we're 2-1 and under the cosh and sell him. You man Mark Thiago, who was running the game.
Yeah. I'll get you on that. There's some more super chats here I want to do. The first one says, showed our naivety and lack of experience. Need to learn how to kill off games like that. Right. Even at Anfield, hopefully they will learn from this. Of course, there's big hope for Gooners. I still rate Arteta, but he has messed up in some matches. It's not a sin to point it out.
True.
It's absolutely right. It's easy to say my expectations are elite, but you're not the one who has to go and deliver elite performances. Monday morning quarterbacks are always right.
Well, no disrespect, mate, but if you go and watch last Tuesday's show, I sat here and said play Tierney because Zinny's a liability at left back. And what happened? He was nowhere to be seen for both goals. In fact, one of them, he got nutsed. So I might not have coaching badges, get paid 8 million quid a year to run a football club. Yeah, but if I concede that Zinchenko's a liability at defence, and then what happens is he was a liability in defence, then come on, mate, what's going on here? What? And Kieran Tierney has won 13 trophies in his career. He's sat on the bench. Why? You're 2-0 up. Yeah, get him on. Even at 2-1, 50 minutes, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85. We're throwing on the 90th minute. It makes no sense.
I get what you're saying there, and I think
fans, fine margins. If you want to tell me, you've seen your team win how many titles? Yeah, if you want to win a league title, you have to be 2-0 up and win the game. Yeah, and people sit there and say Arsenal, they drew 12 games in the Invincible era. Yeah, great. We didn't have a team that's capable of hitting 9,500 points every season chasing us.
I'm gonna. Yeah, this here says that Saka should be benched. Ghosted the game. Yeah, he had a poor game, but I wouldn't be benching Saka. You're gonna need him. He's been brilliant. I wouldn't personally bench him.
He was poor.
This here says this could be a blessing for us. Arteta might learn from this and handle things better against City.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean that's the positive side of it. Like, this is the thing. I'm sure the criticism Lee's giving, there's elements of that internally. I can't imagine.
That's exactly the point, Terry. Do you not think that he got in that dressing room and went mad? Like, we've seen on the All or Nothing and I took the piss out of that All or Nothing program, yeah. And Bernd Leno came out 4 days ago and said, yeah, what was put out there weren't what was happening. He said it on Goal YouTube channel, right? He said what was put out there weren't the reality of what happened behind the scenes, mate. Right? So we know Arsenal manipulate situations, but what we did see in that All or Nothing, I can't remember what game it was we lost. It may have been Nottingham Forest. I may be wrong. Yeah, and Arteta picked up the bin full of clothes, like where you throw the rubbish in, the dirty clothes in. He picked it up and said, now I have to go out there and protect you. You've all let me down. He went mad because we got knocked out the cup, right? Yeah. So if I'm doing this, do you not think he wants to win the league?
Well, this is the point I was about to make, right? So I think what happens, and there's a lot of people in multiple fan bases that do this, their issue is it's almost like they don't want fans saying the things they all agree with. Andrew Tate said this. I'm not someone who follows Andrew Tate, but I saw a clip of his a couple of days ago on, you're on shorts on YouTube and then things come up.
Yeah, he's everywhere. He can't get rid of him.
What he said's true. He said the reason I blew up on social media is because what I do, I say things that the majority of people agree with, but I say it in a way that pisses them off. And he gave an example. He says, if I made a statement that typically men are stronger than women, everybody would agree. But he says, if I say women are weak, people are really angry. And this is the way I think it's viewed from certain Arsenal fans. You're calling out the stuff that maybe they know is wrong as well, but maybe you're doing it too aggressively for them. Maybe you're making it sound too harsh. And then on top of that, what's happening is rivals seeing, oh, I enjoy seeing you guys say it. And for me, it's like you've just got to learn to grow thicker skin and understand that criticism is absolutely key. Abuse is wrong, but criticism is absolutely key in these circumstances. It's as simple as that. Now, again, I'm not someone who follows Andrew Tate, but when he said it, I'm like, that's why he blew up on social media, because he realized if you say things that people agree with, but say it.
I watch a lot of his stuff, and he said it. I openly say stuff that I know is going to trigger people. Yeah, like that example you just gave there. That comment there that says it's an opinion, it's not the truth. Mate, the truth is Zinchenko can't defend. That's truth. That's not an opinion. Just go and have a look at the season.
Yeah, the difference is, though, you say, this is it. This is where it works. You say he's shit at defending.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, again. So, but let me just land the point.
Come on.
The way Arsenal fans agree with you, they know he isn't but what they want to hear you say is defending isn't his strongest suit, isn't his strongest attribute, because it's a kind of way of saying.
Yeah, but why is it only in English football clubs we have this weak, spineless, has to be so nice and bubbly?
No, but it isn't. But it isn't.
This don't happen in any other country, Terry.
Lee, but it is. I don't know about other countries. It isn't about they want it nice. People want it nice and lovely about their own. But about listen, the same gooners that will turn around and say to you, like, don't speak harshly about our own. They'll sit there and watch a YouTuber, a Spurs fan. When Sava went on our channel the other week and was ripping into Tottenham, everyone's going, I love it. That's what it comes down to. That's what
I'll give you another example. Before Arsenal played at the weekend, I watched the Leeds Palace game. Before that, I watched Lyon against Rennes. Right? I thought, let me see what live football's on. I've got a few hours kicking around. I ain't doing nothing. I thought, let me put Lyon versus Rennes. The whole of the first half, Rennes were all over Lyon. And every time Lyon players got the ball, their own fans at their own stadium were booing their every touch. This is their own fans. The whole stadium's rammed. Every time a Lyon player got the ball, their own fans are booing them. They went in 1-0 down at half-time, booed off the pitch. They come out second half. That's probably the best they've played all season. But if you do that in England, oh no, you're so toxic. You're so negative. Mate, I've seen Real Madrid fans chasing players out the stadium. Yeah, and Sergio Ramos having to get out of his car and calm the whole situation. I'm not saying go to that level, but in England, with English football clubs, it is only English football clubs that get this, oh, you have to be so nice and speaking great. Why? Because that is the only country in world football that has the media in its back pocket, mate. Yeah, because every single football club has cottoned on to social media influencers. We'll get all them ones on the media. And then what we'll do is we'll get all the journalists in the back pocket at the clubs that will only put out in our stuff in our interest. And that is exactly why we have this loser sheep mentality in English football. It is only in English football, Terry.
I get you. I'm going to go through some more of these super chats here. First one says, the first goal I blame more on Saka and White for not marking Jones on the right-hand side of the pitch. He was free to dribble for the pass to Hendo.
And Hendo was wide open, no one near him 8 yards out.
It's crazy. Well. I believe this is Arteta's ceiling. Go and get Ancelotti in the summer. He'll take us to the next level.
Don Carlo, man. I wanted Don Carlo when Wenger got potted. I wanted him when Emery went.
Let me ask you a question. If you win the league, Ancelotti wants to join Arsenal, would you sack your manager still and bring him in?
If Carlo's available and wants the job, like if he openly goes on an interview and I can actually hear him and see him saying, I want the Arsenal job, then yeah. Don Carlo, mate. How can you knock this manager? Yeah, what's your name? Henri. Terry Henri. Mate, yeah. Don Carlo, ledge. But listen, I don't think Carlo Ancelotti wants the Arsenal job, so it's all irrelevant.
Lee has the mentality of a Man United fan. Second, third, fourth isn't good enough. Stay true, Lee, is what's been said here. This says Arteta knows more than Lee Gunner.
Well, I never said he didn't. I never said he didn't, mate. I probably know more about Arsenal than you. What's your point? I'm saying, what's your point?
Lee, you said Odegaard was the best in the league.
No. Let's not rewrite history here, mate, and try and take what I said and then turn it into a new conversation. I know you people love to do this. Like when I wanted Graham Potter. Oh, you wanted Potter, but then when he gets sacked, you wanted Potter. I also wanted Don Carlo. What I said was at the time, he was the best midfielder in the league at that point.
On form.
That is what I said.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't say he's been the best all season, but at that point of the season, he was. Since then, he's been pretty poor. And that performance up at Anfield that's it. We didn't see that last season.
He wasn't balling out of the weekend like Bruno Fernandes was, is what we're saying here. Like,
no, what I'm saying is he reverted back to what he did last season away to Tottenham and Newcastle. When the chips are down, he bottled it.
Yeah. This here says, I think he means Saliba or Konate. Lee, didn't you want Arteta out in December?
What?
It says Konate or Saliba is a question. Who would you pick?
Both together.
And Lee, didn't you want Arteta out in December?
December when? What year are you talking about, mate? Because if you must only watch once a month or once every couple of years or so. I don't know. What are you saying about?
Just to answer your super chat, Lee recently admitted he was wrong and he loves Arteta.
No. You're chatting freeze. You're a dickhead. He obviously hasn't watched all season.
Lee flip-flops. Lee is now Arteta in.
No, I'm Arsenal Football Club. Do what they smash the stadium down with these legends behind me, mate. And if that's with Arteta, great. If it ain't with Arteta, great. You could be the manager of Arsenal. If you win me a title, mate, I couldn't care less.
This here says rank Saliba, Konate, Gabriel. What's that last name?
Arahu.
I don't know much about him, so I'll leave him out. I'll do it first. On talent, Saliba.
No, wait. Stop right there, Terry. On talent. That is so, like, dismissive of anything. Now, what does that even mean? Because
I'm seeing that as ability. Talent is ability for me.
How about we rate them on their performances since we've seen them play football? How about that?
Then it would be Gabriel, Konate, Saliba.
You don't watch Spanish League, do you?
No.
He's a good defender. That Arejo's a decent.
Yeah, I don't watch it. I don't know. I said I'll leave him out because I don't know enough about him.
I'd go based on what I've watched this season. Gabriel. There you go. Clip that because I called him the Bozo gene. And he has got the Bozo gene. So has Sergio Ramos. Gabriel. I'm not just going to go reactionary off of that game at the weekend. Saliba, second. Konate, Arejo. Based on what I've seen this season, I watch a lot of La Liga. So
yeah, I hear that. I leave.
But Vinny Jr. had him in his back pocket the other day and absolutely schooled him. But I'm not going to go off just that. Over the season, he's been very good.
Yeah, but players that I don't know, I typically tend to not like. I don't rate because it's just I'll be a liar. This is an interesting one. That says Tate is an embarrassing clown. Stop gassing up that racist. Imagine stating it boldly. I watch a lot of Andrew Tate. Also, the crazy.
What's wrong with that?
So firstly,
so what are you chatting about, mate?
Let me just address this for a moment. So firstly, neither Lee or I said that what he said is right. We were talking about his way of using words to go viral, or the way he says things triggers people that makes him gross. We're talking about his behaviors and his processes as opposed to he's a genius, he's amazing, he's brilliant.
So you should have just read the last bit of that where he said, imagine wanting Carlo to win the league.
I'm going to get to that bit.
So you should just dismiss the first bit off of what you said and move on.
So this is the thing. I also would suggest this to you. There's a lot of things that Andrew Tate says that I don't agree with. But as a human being, what I tend to do is I listen to people I disagree with more than people I agree with. I don't need to watch a podcast of people's opinions based on what I believe because we believe the same thing. I listen to counter opinions and the opposite point of view and things that I disagree with to learn where people are coming from. That's what I personally what I do. That's what education's about. And equally, I want to know what people that oppose my way of life are thinking and feeling because it helps you formulate.
Can I just say, I agree 95% of what Andrew Tate says. And if you want to cry about it, cry. I ain't interested, mate.
There we go. On Carlo Ancelotti being tactically clueless, that is mad.
At Chelsea in his first season.
That is a madness. He's
won how many Champions Leagues? He's won how many leagues? We did this conversation, rewind about an hour and a half, mate. Yeah, one of the greatest managers you'll ever see. But listen, he's probably about 14. Never seen any real great footballers in his life. It is what it is. These kids are lost, mate, unfortunately.
Terry, you don't get cancelled for mentioning his name. You get cancelled for saying things that he says. And we don't do that on the
You don't get cancelled at all. The only way you get cancelled, Terry, is if your own fan base give up on you. That's the only way anyone gets cancelled.
That's very true. And like I said, what we're actually talking about with him today is the way things are worded online that trigger some people and other people enjoy it. And the point is, in football, if you're a Tottenham fan and you say derogatory things about your club, even if they're true, rivals love it. A lot of Spurs fans hate it. And that's how you essentially go viral on social media. You've got to say things that the majority of people think, or a big group of people think are true, but you have to say it in a way that half will agree with and half will be triggered with. If you just say things that most people agree with are true, but you say it in a very nice and subtle way, no one cares about what it is you've got, what it is you've got to say and do. Again,
can I just read this comment as well from G. Weber? And Andrew Tate pretends to make you a millionaire by signing you up to his drop shipping course. Number one, that's factually incorrect. Yeah, because he ain't forcing anyone to sign up to it. And number two, it ain't a drop shipping course. Yeah, I've watched loads of videos of people actually sign up to whatever it's called, yeah, and go on there, and they've actually made money. Most people won't make money, but that's just the way of the world. Most people ain't got more get up and go in them than other people, which is why some people are billionaires and millionaires, and the rest ain't. Yeah, it's like why some people go to the gym. Why is the gym always full of people in January? New year, new me. How many people are there by February the 28th? They've all given up. But the ones that stay on it in the summer reap the rewards, isn't it?
I totally agree. On the gym thing, the Donners won titles in all 5 major leagues. What is that guy talking about? Yeah, I don't. I absolutely.
Mate, Andrew Tate triggered him. He better not watch my video on Andrew Tate on my second channel, otherwise he'll cry. Like I said, I agree with 95% of what he says. That's just my opinion. You might agree with 5%. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't. Do you know what it is? I don't go out my way to watch him. It's one of those things where, like, if a podcast comes on and everyone's talking about it, this is what I tend to do. If I see a clip that goes viral, I very rarely react to clips. What I do is I seek out the full-length version of something and listen to it all and then make my own mind up. But I don't ever tweet about it. Whether I agree or disagree, I just leave it in my own mind because I'm like, I'm not getting into those, not getting into those crazy conversations. I'm really not. Listen, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned into the show today. It means a great deal to us. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. On later tonight after the Champions League games, we're sponsored again by Topps. We've got an amazing offer for you. Real life physical cards available, limited editions. We're going to give you some countdown dates to it. And they're worth some money. I bought an Mbappe card in 2017. I had it valued 2 days ago. Do you know how much? I bought it for $9.99. Do you know how much it's worth now?
Go on.
$6.5 grand.
What do you mean card? What are you talking about?
Like a Topps playing card.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, honestly, forget the digital stuff. The physical cards you can get, as long as they're rare ones, they're worth a lot of money. Like, I was on this website. We're gonna talk about tonight on the Champions League show, but legitimately, mate, like, this is crazy. Friend of mine recently was telling me as well. He had the first edition. You know the Pokemon cards that come out in the 90s. He had the complete set of the first edition. As long as they're in mint condition, they're selling now for 200 grand a set.
Wow.
So I'm telling you now, the geeks had it right. The geeks had it right collecting this stuff. So I'm going to be sharing that link a little bit later with people. Get yourselves on it. Listen, people, and that is not a pyramid scheme. It's real. Listen, until next time, my people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again.